Lily tries to save Zenith, but she can't enter the poisonous gas either. Krishna had jumped to conclusions upon seeing Lily, the elf girl with Zenith, assuming he was the same trafficker she was after, responsible for the kidnapping of children across the kingdom. Lily quickly clears up the misunderstanding, explaining that Zenith actually saved her from a human trafficking gang. Krishna apologizes, blaming her hot temper for having shot at Zenith, but assures Lily that he won't be seriously hurt, since the gas isn't lethal. However, when the gas clears, Zenith appears completely unharmed, leaving Krishna puzzled by the fact that he suffered no damage at all. Zenith explains that he used offensive magic to protect himself, but Krishna doesn't believe him, saying there has never been a case where defensive magic blocked a shot from a magic weapon. Zenith insists he only used basic defensive magic. Krishna then approaches him, confirms that he really is fine, and asks if he's some kind of world-famous mage. Zenith replies that he's not, but Krishna isn't the type to be easily fooled. She reveals that she's a vice commander of the Royal Order of Knights and tells Zenith to be honest if he doesn't want any trouble. Meanwhile, Carmela, silently hiding her presence, is amused by how interesting this encounter is becoming. In any case, Zenith turns serious and learns from Krishna that she came to the alleyways on a secret mission to locate a certain individual and bring them into custody. She wants Zenith to help her find this person, unaware that Zenith is the very person she's looking for. Krishna doesn't go into detail about who she's after, but still forces Zenith to help her, saying it's his duty as a citizen of the kingdom to cooperate with the Order of Knights. Thus, Zenith has no choice but to go along with it. But upon learning that she's there to arrest a mediator who ended the conflict between the factions, he literally spits out his tea in shock. Krishna wholeheartedly believes that the mediator is a servant of the devil, manipulating and controlling people from the shadows. Zenith asks her not to think so extremely and advises her to leave the mediator alone, saying that would be the best decision for her. Krishna starts to suspect Zenith, since he talks as if he knows the mediator, but Zenith quickly comes up with an excuse, saving himself for now. In any case, Krishna and her commander firmly believe that the mediator is a national threat for having the power to unite rival factions. However, Lily defends the mediator, telling Krishna that maybe he just wants to help people out of genuine goodwill, aside from the part where he charges money for it. Of course, before Krishna can suspect her, Lily rushes to clarify that she doesn't know the mediator either. Regardless, Zenith notes that it's nearly midnight and suggests Krishna should head back, offering to show her the way to the city. Krishna asks if he's trying to get rid of her, and of course he is, but he explains that he only wants her focus on her important mission. Krishna then gets ready to leave, but as she's heading out, she notices a bed on the lower floor, clearly used for treating patients. Zenith has to come up with an excuse that he just happens to have an extra bed at home. Krishna decides to stay, since being nearby could prove useful. The alleyways are the perfect place for Krishna's investigation. She promises Zenith that she'll pay rent, and Zenith, not wanting to stir up trouble by refusing her, ends up allowing the problem to settle inside his underground clinic. Lily doesn't like this one bit. To make it very clear that she is the one and only true wife of Zenith, she sits on his lap, right in front of Krishna, and makes him stroke her head. Zenith doesn't understand why Lily is acting like this all of a sudden. Carmela, still hidden from Krishna, helps the coolest guy understand that Lily is doing all this out of jealousy. No one asked, but Carmela still gives a detailed explanation, whispering to Zenith that Lily has absolutely no intention of accepting this attractive woman into their home, especially not after she attacked the man she likes most. Zenith doesn't believe that's the case and thinks the old ghost is exaggerating as usual. Lily keeps acting overly affectionate towards Zenith, blowing on his tea to cool it down, brushing his hair, and even feeding him fruit. But neither Zenith nor Krishna react, leaving Lily with no choice but to use the secret weapon Carmela taught her. She holds Zenith's face and boldly declares that she won't let him sleep that night. But minutes later, she ends up falling asleep herself. LOL. Zenith lays her on the bed and returns to the common room, where Krishna asks if he knows the people who kidnapped Lily. Zenith says he doesn't. But Krishna remains convinced that the alleyways are a nest of child trafficking and explains that's why she shot him earlier. She apologizes once again for jumping to conclusions and, with a proud tone, says that even though she's a perfect vice commander of the Royal Order of Knights, she's still human and capable of making mistakes. In any case, she changes the subject and asks Zenith if a master healer would be able to completely regenerate an arm, just like a master mage like him can defend himself with magic. Zenith tries to clarify that he's not a master mage, but what catches his attention is the fact that Krishna mentions a master healer capable of regenerating an entire arm. She doesn't let him speak and draws her own conclusions, saying that only a handful of the highest and most secretive healers could do something like that. That's why she doesn't understand how someone with that level of skill would be in the alleyways, or why they would heal Zophia's arm. Zenas asks how she knows all that, and Krishna reveals that she was the one who injured Zophia's arm, which technically makes her Zenas' enemy, since Zophia is his friend. Zenas still doesn't understand why Krishna feels so threatened by the alleyways. And then Krishna reveals that her mother, a deeply kind woman, used to visit those very alleyways every day to feed the hungry, until one day she was murdered by someone who lived there. Krishna, who was just a child at the time, found out that her mother had been killed by a group of thieves who wanted to steal her wedding ring. Since that day, Krishna decided she would become an invincible heroine, someone capable of delivering justice to the innocent and punishing criminals, especially those in the alleyways, to ensure no other child would ever suffer the same pain she endured after losing her mother. When she finishes her story, it's already morning, and she prepares to leave the clinic. As Krishna walks away, Zenas feels deep pity for her. How could a woman who loved the people of the alleyways so much be killed by the very one she loved and protected? As we know, Zenas has a kind heart and believes everyone acts with good intentions. Carmela quickly picks up on his mood and comes down to talk. She tells him not to worry about what Krishna said, that it doesn't necessarily mean her mother was a good person, nor does it mean Krishna, who despises peace in the alleyways, is good either. Having lived for 300 years, Carmela says she knows that kind of person all too well. Zenas thanks her for the kind words, and she takes a chance to remind him that he still hasn't taken down the flag hanging outside the clinic. The flag had been used to keep demi-humans away from the place, so they wouldn't run into Krishna. And, to be honest, it worked. No one showed up while she was around. As soon as Zenas removes the flag, Zophia shows up for her treatment. Almost at the same time, Krishna returns. Terrible timing. The reunion between the two is anything but friendly. It never has been. Both draw their weapons, ready to shoot each other, but Lily quickly steps in. She tries to explain that Zophia was also lost and that they're simply trying to help guide her. But who in their right mind would believe that? As expected, Krishna doesn't buy the excuse. She presses Zophia, demanding to know how her arm was regenerated after being wounded. Krishna insists there must be a mediator with healing magic involved. But Zophia doesn't want to engage. She simply says she's found her path again and wants to leave. Before she goes, however, she offers Krishna a piece of advice. If she truly wants to find the person responsible for the human trafficking, she should look inward, not outward. Curious, Krishna asks her to explain. Zophia reveals that the head of the human trafficking network is, in fact, an aristocrat, not someone poor from the alleyways. Krishna refuses to believe it. In her view, the rich are good and the poor are bad. When Zophia finally reveals the name of the aristocrat involved, it turns out to be a wealthy noble named Calendar. Even then, Krishna doesn't believe it. That pushes Zophia over the edge. She vents, saying that the only person they all know who actually believes in the poor is precisely the mediator that Krishna wants to kill. She then tries to open Krishna's eyes, telling her that being poor doesn't automatically make someone evil, and that she seriously needs to change the way she thinks. The conversation grows intense, and Zenas steps in. He reveals that he is the mediator, but his personality doesn't match the image Krishna had in mind. She had expected the mediator to be someone who simply healed, but Zenas possesses both healing and defensive magic. He says he's capable of doing both, but she doesn't listen. What truly stands out to her is that he's on the side of the demi-humans, so she decides she can no longer be his friend. She storms off in anger. However, she doesn't go home. Instead, she decides to visit Calendar. Upon meeting him, she says she's heard some troubling rumors about the safety of the area and wants to make sure he's all right. She asks to see the security system, and when he shows her, everything seems perfectly normal at first glance. Krishna is about to conclude that Zophia lied when she begins to think about how the guards are distributed throughout the house. She pretends she needs to use the bathroom and begins to explore. She ends up finding a well and, without thinking, jumps inside. Once there, she sees something that horrifies her. Several children are tied up below. Calendar really is the human trafficker. The children's eyes are blindfolded, but upon hearing Krishna's voice, they feel a bit more secure, though still frightened. When she tries to rescue them, Calendar appears and shoots her. Krishna falls to the ground, looks at the children, and regrets not being able to save them. She feels defeated and thinks of her mother, lamenting that she couldn't be a heroine. Calendar approaches and asks why she didn't mind her own business, why she had to meddle in his affairs. He reminds her that he is an aristocrat and that she, as a knight, has no right to investigate his life. Krishna is already on the brink of death, staring at the sky when her saviors arrive. Zophia reveals herself, and Zenas shows up right after. Calendar threatens to kill them, and when he shoots at Zenith, he realizes the bullets have no effect. Zenith walks toward him calmly, while Calendar continues shooting in vain. When he gets close enough, Zenith takes the weapon from his hand and strikes him. Calendar thinks he's going to die right there. Zenith demands an apology, but Calendar doesn't even know who he's supposed to apologize to. He begs for his life and gives Krishna a cold, forced apology. Zenith shoots him, but not to kill. As Krishna feels herself slipping away, she begs Zenith to save the children, but he tells her she has to do it herself. He heals her, and she is shocked by who he truly is. She calls him a hero, saying that she herself could never be one, but he shows her the children and how they see her as their heroine. Krishna approaches the children, who brighten up at the sight of her. Zenith tells her that a hero isn't someone perfect, but someone willing to save others. They leave the place with the children, and he tells her she'll still have to pay her bill. Krishna smiles for the first time, and everyone teases her, saying her smile looks kind of weird.